On the night of August 21st, 1986, a lake in Cameroon exhaled. No eruption, no earthquake, no warning, just an invisible cloud that rolled silently down into the valleys below. And by sunrise, over 1,700 people were dead. Most of them never even woke up. I'll tell you exactly what that lake did in a few minutes, because it's genuinely one of the strangest disasters in recorded history. But here's the thing. That lake isn't even close to the most dangerous thing in this video, because today, we're going on a journey. We're starting with the deadliest places on Earth, then heading out, past a planet where it rains sideways glass, past a dead star that can kill you from 1,000 kilometers away with pure magnetism, all the way to the one force in physics that is quietly, patiently dismantling the entire universe, including you, right now. Let's start close to home. Snake Island. About 33 kilometers off the coast of Brazil sits Ilha da Queimada Grande, a pretty forested island that the Brazilian government has made illegal to visit. Not frowned upon, illegal. That's because it's home to somewhere between 2,000 and 4,000 golden lancehead vipers, one of the most venomous snakes in the Americas, packed onto an island less than half a square kilometer in size. In the densest spots, researchers estimate roughly one snake per square meter. For reference, that's about one snake per doormat. Here's the interesting part though. The snakes aren't evil, they're stranded. Rising sea levels cut the island off from the mainland around 11,000 years ago, and the snakes trapped there had no ground prey. So evolution did what evolution does. Their venom became 3 to 5 times more potent than their mainland cousins, strong enough to drop migrating birds mid-perch, because a bird you only wound is a bird that flies away with your dinner. Lake Natron, Tanzania. This lake looks photoshopped, flat, crimson red, and dotted with what appear to be stone statues of birds. They're not statues. Natron is fed by volcanic minerals that push its water to a pH of over 10, in places approaching 12, close to household ammonia. Water temperatures can hit 60 degrees Celsius. Animals that die in it become coated in mineral salts and are essentially preserved, calcified where they fell. And yet, and this is the part I love, Lake Natron is the single most important breeding ground on Earth for lesser flamingos. Around 3/4 of the world's population hatches there, precisely because the water dissolves anything that tries to eat their eggs. The deadliest lake in Africa is also its greatest nursery. Nature is nothing if not committed to the bit. The Danakil Depression, Ethiopia. Scientists literally call this place Mars on Earth, and NASA uses it to test theories about alien life. It sits at the junction of 3 tectonic plates that are actively pulling apart. It's one of the lowest points on the continent, and it holds the record for the highest average year-round temperature of any inhabited place on the planet. The landscape is neon, yellow, green, orange, because the pools are hot acid loaded with sulfur and iron. Some of them sit below pH 1, and yet microbes live in them, which is exactly why astrobiologists are so obsessed with the place. If life can work there, the bar for Mars just got a lot lower. And that brings us back to Cameroon. Lake Nyos. Nyos sits in the crater of an old volcano, and deep underground magma had been quietly leaking carbon dioxide into the lake bottom for centuries. Under pressure, at depth, that CO2 just dissolved and waited. The lake was a soda bottle and nobody knew the cap was loose. On that August night in 1986, likely triggered by a landslide, The lake overturned and an estimated cubic kilometer of carbon dioxide erupted out of the water in minutes. CO2 is heavier than air, so the cloud hugged the ground and flowed downhill at up to 50 kilometers per hour, displacing all the oxygen in the valleys for 25 kilometers around. Over 1,700 people and 3,500 livestock suffocated, most in their sleep. It's called a limnic eruption. It's one of the rarest natural disasters known. And here's your unsettling fact of the day. Scientists have identified only 3 lakes on Earth capable of it. The third, Lake Kivu, sits on the border of Rwanda and the DRC. It's 1,000 times bigger than Nyos, and roughly 2 million people live on its shores. Engineers now run degassing pipes at Nyos, venting the water like slowly opening a shaken bottle, a permanent fountain that's actually a bomb disposal operation. But honestly, Earth is the kiddie pool. Let's go up. People assume Mercury is the hottest planet because it's closest to the Sun. Wrong. Venus is hotter, everywhere, all the time, day or night, because its atmosphere is a runaway greenhouse of almost pure carbon dioxide. The surface sits at around 465 degrees Celsius. That's hot enough to melt lead. The atmospheric pressure is 90 times Earth's, equivalent to being about 900 meters underwater, and the clouds are sulfuric acid. The Soviets actually landed probes there in the 70s and 80s, tanks of machines built like submarines. The record survivor Venera 13 was designed to last 32 minutes. It managed 127 before Venus crushed and cooked it. Those remain the only photos ever taken from the surface of Venus, and it has now been over 40 years. Oh, and Venus rotates so slowly, backwards by the way, that a single day there lasts 243 Earth days, while its year is only 225. On Venus, a day is longer than a year. Your birthday would come around more often than sunrise. While we're in the neighborhood, some rapid fire. The moon is escaping. It drifts about 3.8 centimeters farther from Earth every year, about the rate your fingernails grow, which means total solar eclipses are a temporary feature. In a few 100 million years, the moon will look too small to fully cover the sun, and that show ends forever. We happen to be alive during the brief window where it fits exactly. Enjoy it. And the sun? Every second, it converts about 4 million tons of its own mass into pure energy. It has been doing this for 4.6 billion years, and it's only middle-aged. In about 5 billion years, it'll swell into a red giant and Earth's forecast becomes absorbed. But even a dying sun is gentle compared to what's out there in deep space. 64 light-years away, there's a planet called HD 189733b, and from a distance it looks lovely. A deep, calm, cobalt blue, like Earth's oceans. That blue is molten glass. The planet orbits its star 13 times closer than Mercury orbits ours, so the day side hits around 930 degrees Celsius, hot enough to vaporize silicates. Winds of up to 8,700 kilometers per hour, more than 7 times the speed of sound, then whip that vapor around the planet where it condenses into shards. It doesn't rain glass down on HD 189733b, it rains glass sideways, and in 2024, the James Webb Space Telescope found hydrogen sulfide in its atmosphere. So this planet also smells like rotten eggs, sideways glass hurricanes, and it stinks. Astronomers officially nicknamed its weather Rains of Terror, which suggests someone at NASA was having a great day. But planets are soft targets. Let me introduce you to dead stars. When a giant star explodes, its core can collapse into a neutron star, more mass than our entire sun, crushed into a sphere about 20 kilometers across, the size of a city. The density is so absurd that a single teaspoon of neutron star material would weigh around 1 billion tons. That's every car on Earth in your teaspoon. Its gravity is so intense that the tallest mountains on its surface are millimeters high, and if you dropped an object from 1 meter up, it would hit the surface in about a microsecond, moving at millions of kilometers per hour. And some neutron stars come in a special edition called a magnetar, the most magnetic objects known to exist. A magnetar's field is roughly a quadrillion times stronger than Earth's. Get within about 1,000 kilometers of one and the field doesn't burn you or crush you. It dissolves you, distorting the electron clouds of your atoms until chemistry itself stops working. You wouldn't be injured, you'd be undefined. In 2004, a magnetar on the other side of the galaxy, 50,000 light-years away, had a starquake, and the flash physically compressed Earth's magnetic field and partially ionized our upper atmosphere. 1/10 of a second of temper tantrum from across the Milky Way and our planet flinched. Nothing in this video so far can touch that, except the stuff we can't even see. Quick question that sounds simple. What's the emptiest place in the universe? In the constellation Boötes, astronomers in 1981 found a hole. The Boötes void is a roughly spherical region about 330 million light-years across that should contain around 2,000 galaxies. It contains about 60. It is sometimes called the Great Nothing, which is metal, and we still don't fully understand how it got that empty. The leading idea is that smaller voids merged like bubbles in foam. Here's the thought that gets me. If the Milky Way sat at the center of the Boötes void, the sky would be so empty that we wouldn't have discovered any other galaxies until roughly the 1960s. We'd have invented radio telescopes before we found evidence anyone else's lights were on. An astronomer once put it perfectly. We would have thought we were alone in the dark. And while some parts of the universe are empty, something out there is pulling. Right now, the Milky Way, and every galaxy near us, is being dragged through space at around 600 kilometers per second toward a region called the Great Attractor, a couple of 100 million light-years away. And for decades, we couldn't see what was pulling us, for the most mundane reason imaginable. It happens to sit directly behind the disk of our own galaxy. The dust and stars of the Milky Way block the view in a region astronomers genuinely call the zone of avoidance. X-ray surveys have since found massive galaxy clusters there, but the full accounting still doesn't quite balance. And a big part of the answer appears to be dark matter, the invisible stuff that outweighs everything we can see about 5-1. Sit with that. Everything you have ever seen, every star, every galaxy, every person, is the minority of the universe. Most of it doesn't emit light, doesn't reflect it, and has never once been directly detected. We only know it's there because of how it pulls. But none of these things, not the magnetar, not the void, not the dark matter, is the real final boss. The real final boss doesn't have a location, it's a rule. It's called entropy, and it's the reason your coffee goes cold, the reason you age, and the reason time itself only runs one way. Here's the version they don't tell you in school. Entropy isn't really about disorder, it's about options. Energy left alone always spreads out, simply because there are astronomically more ways for it to be spread out than concentrated. A hot coffee in a cold room isn't forced to cool down. It's just that the arrangements where the heat is shared outnumber the ones where it isn't by a number so large it may as well be certainty. That one-way spreading is the only reason before and after feel different? Entropy is the arrow of time. And here's the twist. The universe isn't running out of energy. Energy is perfectly conserved. That's the first law. It's running out of useful energy, concentrated, organized, ready-to-do-work energy. Every star that shines, every meal you eat, every thought you have takes concentrated energy and smears it out into lukewarm, useless waste heat forever. Life doesn't fight entropy. Life runs on it, like a water wheel runs on falling water. No flow, no wheel. So follow it forward. In about 1 trillion years, star formation winds down. The last stars, small red dwarfs, gutter out over the following trillions. Galaxies evaporate, matter itself may decay, and eventually even black holes leak away through Hawking radiation, over timescales around 10 to the power of 100 years, a number with 100 zeros. What's left is a universe at perfect, uniform, freezing equilibrium, where nothing can happen ever again. Because happening requires an energy difference, and there aren't any left. Physicists call it the heat death. It is, as far as we know, how everything ends. Not with a bang, with a shrug, but before you spiral, flip it around. The only reason anything interesting exists, stars, planets, flamingos in acid lakes, you watching this, is that the universe started in an absurdly low entropy state and hasn't finished spreading out yet. We live inside the burn. The entire history of life is a brief window between a universe too hot to allow chemistry and one too cold to allow anything at all. And, statistically, this is the golden age. The stars are on. The energy is flowing. The most improbable era in cosmic history is now, and you got tickets. So, a lake that suffocated a valley in its sleep, a planet with sideways glass rain, a dead star that flicked our atmosphere from across the galaxy, and a law of physics with 100-0 countdown timer. Which one would you least want to live next to? I'm going Lake Kivu. 2 million people are already doing it. Let me know yours in the comments. If you made it this far, you're the kind of person the algorithm refuses to believe exists. So subscribe, because there's a lot more universe where this came from, and statistically speaking, we're on a schedule. Catch you in the next one.